Hey, so I'm back and welcome back to round 2 of me fixing these two incredibly cheap motorbikes. If you're regular viewers of this channel, you'll already be familiar with these two bikes, and you know that I bought them at auction for just £184. Lexmoto being the cheapest at £82 and the Yamaha being more expensive at £102. You'll also know that when I bought them were non-runners with no keys and a whole host of other problems to go with them. Last time I worked on these bikes, you saw that I fixed the issue of having no spark with the Yamaha, and we got some almost starts out of this bike, which we'll take a look at now. And also in the last video, we saw me get the Lexmoto running. I fixed the clutch cable, I fixed all the electrics on the switch bank, and I changed over the whole lock set so that it has one key to work everything. In fact, I fixed pretty much 90% of everything that's wrong with the Lexmoto, bar the aesthetics of it. The only thing I didn't actually manage to fix was the tyres, because as you can see, they are flat as a pancake again. So let's tackle that and do probably a bit of a temporary fix on the tyres, but it's going to make it a lot easier for me to move that bike around rather than having to pump the tyres up every 2 minutes. So for a temporary fix on this tyre, here is what I've got. A can of Holt's tyre weld. I've never used this before, but apparently you can get up to 100 miles on it. So it'll do as a temporary fix just to stop that tyre going down, so I can look at maybe replacing it. So apparently you just screw this onto the tyre, twist the cap, wait 2 minutes, and then drive it for 5 minutes. So let's give that a go and see what happens. To have a bit of a ride on it, actually. I mean, the bike runs and rides really nice considering how unloved it's been for God knows how long. I did notice that the back tyre was really flat while I was riding it, but I didn't want to stop. I needed to ride it for 5 minutes for that tyre weld to really get around the tyre. So I'm going to put some air in that. If that goes flat again, then I'll get another can of tyre weld and do the same thing as that, give it a temporary fix for the time being. But for now, that is everything fixed on the Lexmoto, so I'm going to put that to one side while I jump onto the Yamaha. The only thing that may be concerning me before I clean down the Lexmoto is those front forks. A lot of you are telling me in the comments that they're too far gone, but we will see when I clean the bike up. I'm going to give those forks a good rub down and see. I'll just, all I can do is try, and obviously if they fail an MOT, then they fail an MOT, at least we know. So gonna put the Lexmoto aside for now, and we'll jump back onto the Yamaha. That out the way, over to the Yamaha, and before I strip the tank off, the carb off, change the inlet manifold, check all the fuel lines and everything else I need to do to get that thing running, it's time to actually fix the ignition switch once and for all, because turning this with the screwdriver, it's not really a long-term solution. So let's take a look at what I got. So here's what I got: a brand new ignition switch and lock set, and the plan is to take the lock mechanism out of there and replace it with the one from here, because the problem with these copy ignitions is the wiring is all wrong, and without splicing the wires, there's not enough of them to match what should be on it. So I'm gonna pop this apart, undo those screws, and see if we can get the barrel out of here and into there. Was a bit of a fail. The lock barrels are just too different. I could get it to switch the ignition on, but it just would not do the steering lock, because there's little notches on the lock barrels and it just will not turn. So I'm either gonna have to rewire this one and fit it, or see if I can get that re-keyed, and then obviously just have a key for the lock caps and the side thingy, and a different one for the ignition. Don't know, we'll come back to that later. For the time being, I'm going to put the locks on the Yamaha. I'm not going to show you me doing that because that's pretty boring, and then we'll jump on with the actual work. So battery cover lock and fuel cap are fitted. Annoyingly, I prefer the OEM fuel cap because I'm not a big fan of that gap, but it works. And the battery cover lock actually arrived damaged. It should have a little swivelly thing on it, and it should be fitted up the other way up, but what can you do? It's a shame when you buy these Chinese parts. They're just so cheap that they break on delivery. So not very exciting work so far with the Yamaha, and it's a shame I haven't worked out that ignition switch yet, but I'll take a look at that later when I'm sitting down in the house. But obviously what I've done so far is it needed doing at some point, so may as well get it done out the way. So now I'm going to take that tank off and start stripping down the carb and really dig in to find out why this bike is having a fueling problem. So let's go. So with the tank and the air box off, we can get a good look at this. I can see, can't really see it on there, but the throttle is working, so that's not an issue. I know that fuel was coming out of the tap and through this hose to the vacuum pump, but whether the fuel was ever getting from the vacuum pump into the carb, I don't know. It could have been an issue with the vacuum lines not connected, because there was this one down here that was supposed to be connected there, which I've just connected up, which wasn't connected before. I think this one was supposed to go into there. Not entirely sure. I'm gonna have a little research online, but the exterior of the carb itself is pretty grubby, but the inside is really clean. I mean, what the float and everything else is like, I really don't know, but let's dig into it. Carb is off. Not the best bit of footage of me actually getting it off, but I spent a lot of time trying to work out how to do it, but it is off. I was thinking I was just going to put the replacement one on, because while I was trying to get this off, it looked like a couple of the screws were starting to round and things like that, so I'm a bit concerned about taking it apart to clean it in case I round any of the screws. But the replacement carb is actually not the same as this one. Even though it's supposed to be, it's totally laid out different. There's different electrical connectors and things for it, and I just haven't got the head for working that out. So I'm going to take this apart, I'm going to clean it down, I'm going to change the inlet manifold, and hopefully it will work. So let's start stripping this thing down. Okay, so I'm skipping ahead a few steps here because that was a nightmare. I cleaned the carb down, but I didn't manage to get much of it on film because it was just really difficult out here in my driveway to film it and clean it and everything, and I just wanted to get it done. And then after a bunch of fiddling and taking the inlet manifold on and off and on and off, I realised that this inlet manifold is not correct, as well as the spare carb, which was not correct. So I'm sending both of those back. Turns out, although it is a similar engine to what's on the VX250, the VX and the VXS are not the same. So the parts I ordered were totally wrong anyway. So I've stripped all that down. I've put the old inlet manifold back on, because even though that was cracked on the outside, it was still good on the inside. So put that one back on, connected up all of the vacuum lines as far as I am aware. I can't see any loose. So I'm going to put a bit of fresh fuel directly in the spark plug just to help the vacuum. and see if we can get this thing running. So let's go, let's give it a go. That is a success. As you can hear behind me, it is still idling over nicely without me, without easy start. It is running on its own fuel. I've popped the air filter back into place just to see if it settles a bit, but I think the air filter needs a bit of cleaning out and actually connecting back up properly, but it is actually running. The bike is now running. With the bike now running, it's time to get everything bolted back in place, get that air filter fitted properly, maybe have a little look at the idle adjustment, because it didn't sound like it was running brilliantly, but it might run a bit better once the air filter's connected up. I'm going to put the seat back on, everything back in place, and then I'm going to take it for a little run up and down the street and see if this thing actually rides as well as runs. Let's go. And just like that, the Yamaha is reassembled. Now, there are a couple of little jobs left to do. Other than cleaning it, I need to tinker with the vacuum line just there, because it is leaking a little bit of air, which causes the idle to sort of fluctuate a bit. So I either need a Jubilee clip or a little bit of sealant, or maybe shorten the hose so it sits better and put a Jubilee clip on it. I'm not really sure. I'll tinker with that. I got the rear indicator to do that. You can just see over my shoulder there. Yeah, I ordered it, but it hasn't arrived yet. And once that's here, clean it and take it for an MOT, and if there's something else wrong with it, then I'll fix it after the MOT. But visibly and physically, I can't see anything else that's really wrong with it, other than obviously it needing a clean, but I'm going to do that in the next video. But right now, I'm going to take it for a little ride up and down the road, so let's go. And that is it. The Yamaha is running and riding, and I gotta be honest, it rides really nice. It feels good, it feels solid. There's a lot more go in it than what there is in the Lexmoto. I mean, it is twice the power, so I mean, you know, you're gonna feel that, but it, you know, it feels a good bike. I gotta be honest, I was not expecting it to feel quite the way it did. One thing I didn't show you when I was fixing it, I did actually do the ignition. I managed to work it out. I missed that out when I was putting it back together. Basically, I used 2 bullet connectors, or split bullet connectors, whatever they're called, to wire into the 4-pin plug. It really wasn't that difficult once I figured out what does what with the multimeter, but they are done. But that is now both of the bikes running, riding, and other than a good clean down, they're ready for an MOT. I mean, I've still got the rear indicator to do on that, and I do need to have a little look at the speedo cable, because when I was running it up and down, I realised that the speedo wasn't actually working, so I'll take a look at that. But in the next video, you are going to see me clean down these bikes and take them for an MOT, and we'll find out if they are actually roadworthy, or if I've got more work to do. Possibly the front forks on the Lexmoto, maybe something I haven't even thought of on the Yamaha. But that is it for this video. If you enjoyed this video, then give me a thumbs up. And if you like what I'm doing and you really want it, you're looking forward to the next video and seeing if they'll actually pass an MOT and be roadworthy, then make sure you've hit that subscribe button and you'll get notified then when the next video is out. But until then, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.